Like you mentioned, Cheryl, it has been a great week rather because a lot of listing happened, especially in Tata Tech. The stock actually doubled the investors' wealth. So first of all, let's visit Nikunj Dalmia's take on this.
A fantastic debut, the debut of the year or the debut of the season. We are looking at some numbers right now, but I just want to put a point in context here. After a 150% surge based on FY24, I'm only looking at trailing. The stock is trading at a P multiple of 70 plus. So if a stock is trading at a P multiple of 70 plus, even though it's a Tata group of company, the question you could ask yourself is that, is this a great company available at a good price, or is this a great company where the scope of return in the near term, purely because of the price, gets marginalized? Best of the companies, doesn't matter what pedigree they are from, if the stock price is not in sync with the reality, they may enter into time-wise correction. HDFC Bank 3-year no return, Kotak Mahindra Bank 4-year no return, HUL 4-year no return, Reliance 2.5, 3 years no return. So I'm not saying the same thing will happen with Tata Tech, but my limited point is that if you're chasing the stock now, bear in mind you're buying a Tata Group company at a P multiple of 70 plus trailing, and the industry average for KPIT and for LTT Tech and all, I think is way different. The sector P multiple has got contracted to mid-teens and mid-20s on a trailing basis when it comes to some of the large cap companies. That's my limited point. But yeah, in terms of history, Wall History's got created today. In terms of magnificence, I think this is as good as it gets. In terms of the scarcity premium and the Tata appeal, I think everything is getting captured. So, like they say, Sone pe suhaga. I think that's the real word when it comes to, describing this listing.
All right, so that's the view coming in from ET Now, and ET Now Swadesh's managing editor, that's Nikunj Dalmia, on Tata Tech IPO in particular. But let's not forget 2023, India has seen record IPOs, actually almost 205 or so. But my colleague Vamakshi is here to break it down for us, to talk about how the IPOs have been in this year alone. And Vamakshi, what a year, what last 2 days have been spectacular, isn't it? A lot of people are having FOMO feelings.
Well, absolutely. When we talk about the number of listings that happened on the mainline IPO board in 2023, nearly 48 companies have listed on exchanges. Now, out of these 48 companies, nearly 77% of them have actually managed to close in the green on the listing day itself. Now, today also we had 3 new listings. We saw a stellar debut for Tata Tech, as we've all been speaking about. The stock listed at a 140% premium. Gandhar Oil, which was another performer, it listed actually at nearly 76% premium. While on the other hand, we saw a very somber, lackluster debut from Fedbank Financial Services, which actually in turn listed at a discount of almost 1.5%. But let's also revisit the best performing IPOs that we saw in 2023. So far, Tata Tech, with its stellar debut today, is set to be the best performing IPO on the listing day for 2023. Currently, the stock was trading around 160% higher, but even at the listing premium of almost 140%, the stock is the best performing IPO on the listing day itself. Apart from that, Idea Forge Tech also saw gains of over 90% with Utkarsh Small Finance Bank, and we also have IRDA making it to this list with a listing day gain of almost 87%. Not just that, when we look at the IPO data for the last 5 years, in fact, we saw a very good listing from Sigachi Industries, Paras Defense, Latent View. All of those IPOs performed very well on the listing day. But in fact, Tata Tech is also on track to be among the top 5 best performing IPOs in the last 5 years. So all in all, those were all the data points that I had to share for the IPOs that have been listed in the last 5 years.
All right, so those are the list of IPOs that we've seen actually, and Tata Tech for now being one of the stellar listings, at least in the year 2023. And also, Vamakshi, it's also among the largest listings this year. So if you have to look at the largest listings this year, one of them is Cube Highway, then you have Mankind, you have Nexus, and also you have Tata Tech that features in the list, JSW Infra also, and IREDA as well. So thank you so much, Vamakshi, for putting all of that into context. And yes, a lot of FOMO for a lot of them, given the fact the subscription numbers for these IPOs also has been spectacular. So let's bring on board our guest for today. We have Kunal Bothra as well as Sharmila Joshi joining us on the show. Very good morning to you, Sharmila, as well as Kunal. Thank you so much for joining us. And Sharmila, let me come to you because I know Kunal would not speak about IPOs and recently listed counters, but for a week at least it's been for these three debutants, isn't it? A spectacular returns coming in, at least for IRIDA in the last 2 days has seen good up move. Also, you have Tata Tech, spectacular up move coming for that. Let's not forget Gandhar also. That one also listed in a bumper listing that it witnessed today. What's your take on all of these companies hitting the bourses? Now, what should investors do if they've missed out on it?
So, I think really what last week has taught us is that we had 5 IPOs, in fact, which opened, I think one opened on one day and 4 on the other. One was Slike, one was Gandhar, one was the Fedbank Financials, Tata Tech, and of course, IREDA. One common factor I think that you saw in all these is that somewhere the investors perceived that there had been enough left on the table for IPO investors. I think this becomes a very important factor, which must be taken into account when you are setting a price for your IPO. Because, for instance, let's take the case of a Tata Tech. Given the fact that the Tatas were coming out with an IPO after so many years, they could have easily priced it higher. But they did give that opportunity to initial investors to be excited about the IPO and try and apply so that they could make money going forward. Little did we think that you would make everything that you hope for on day one itself if you had put money. But the point remains that they were very prudent when they priced their IPO, and I think that's my key takeaway. Even Honasa, if you remember the debate at that time, that was the only negative that a lot of people said that the pricing was not correct, and they did pay the price for that on the day they listed. It's another thing that their numbers were sort of bumper numbers. Let's hope that they are sustainable, which is why we saw the sort of stock bounce back. But the point remains that if their IPO had been more fairly priced, they would have probably seen better subscriptions and even better returns on day one. So I think it's always good strategy to leave something on the table for investors when you price your IPO.
Okay, so that's the take on the fundamental side, that whether or not there's still an opportunity to go ahead and invest in all these counters. But before we slip into a short break, ET Now and ET Now Swadesh, in line with helping Indians rise with India, have partnered with Sundaram Mutual Fund to launch Nivesh Day, a groundbreaking campaign to help viewers build their personal finance portfolios through regular and disciplined investing. Nivesh Day is being celebrated on the 5th of every month. Join ET Now and ET Now Swadesh and Sundaram Mutual to learn how you can build your financial future with an SIP in mutual funds.